So after many years of having only one option for an ultra wide angle lens, the Fujifilm 10 to 24mm, Fujifilm this year have finally brought out a high-end ultra wide angle lens, the 8 to 16mm f2.8, and today we're going to take it for a spin. So one thing I've instantly noticed from doing this shot is that the lines are really straight. Now, of course, using an ultra wide lens, you're always going to get a bit of distortion, but the way that this lens has been constructed, the lines from the buildings I'm shooting now, they're almost straight, and this is at 8mm, which is about a 12mm equivalent, and that is really saying something about how well built and designed this lens is. So this lens is a lot wider than I thought it'd be. I'm so used to using generally a 14 to 24mm kind of focal length, but on this particular camera, an 8 to 16 is equivalent to 12 to 24 in full frame. So I'm just doing a look up here and I can see the ring right behind me, which is really wide. So now I'm just going to talk about my first impressions on the design of the Fujifilm 8 to 16mm. So first off, it's definitely not Fujifilm's lightest or most compact lens, as it weighs 800 grams and it is quite chunky, meaning you'll need a pretty big padded bag to take your kit around. Secondly, like most ultra-wide lenses, you'll notice it's got an inbuilt lens hood, which means that you can't use screw-in filters and will require an external filter holder to mount your NDs or polarizers on the front of it. So now it's currently raining a lot and we're gonna duck under shelter, but luckily the lens is weather sealed. But let's go. So just going back onto the lens hood, one of the most annoying things about the inbuilt lens hoods is the lens caps that they come with. So for example, the Nikon 14 to 24 literally just has like a bowl that kind of just attaches on the front. And when you're carrying around in your bag, it tends to fall out a lot. The Fujifilm lens cap, on the other hand, is still that bold shape, but it has a similar lens cap locking mechanism, so when it's moving around, it doesn't fall off. So you're going to be sure that the lens cap will always be securely attached onto the front of the lens. And like any other Fuji lens, you have your same set of rings. So you've got a clicky aperture ring at the back, a zoom ring in the middle, and a focus ring at the front for people who want to do manual focus. Now there's one thing about the 8 to 16 that I wish it had, and that is the hard stops on the manual focus ring, like in the 23mm 1.4. And that's because if people are doing astrophotography or are doing landscapes who use the range indicator on the focus ring, there actually isn't one on the lens, so you're going to have to rely on the viewfinder or LCD to get your ranges. So now I'm just going to run over the key features of the Fujifilm 8 to 16mm. So first off, it's got a constant aperture performance of f2.8 throughout the focal length, giving you the same depth of field performance and low light performance throughout the focal length. Secondly, it's got 6 extra low dispersion elements, which 3 of those are super ED elements, which helps control chromatic aberrations as well as color fringing. Thirdly, it's got 4 spherical elements to help with distortions, and lastly, it's got nano GI coating to help suppress lens flare and ghosting. So just to quickly talk about autofocus performance on the Fujifilm 8 to 16mm, it is pretty damn good, and this is quite rare for an ultra wide lens to have the same speed as well as accuracy that this lens houses. Secondly, as I mentioned before, I'm really impressed with the distortion performance on this lens. Now yes, you are going to get a bit of distortion, but the lines are straight and everything looks pretty good. Combine this with a correction profile and you have yourself a pretty much near zero distortion lens, which is brilliant. And we're going to have a look at those in the image samples coming up next. Today's sample images were shot on a Fujifilm X-T3 combined with the 8 to 16mm f2.8. With the 8 to 16mm wide angles rectilinear design, it was super surprising how well the lens handled distortion. You're always going to suffer a little bit of distortion, but at 8mm the lines are quite straight. Vignetting is also something that ultra-wides suffer from, and in the 8 to 16mm it is quite minimal. The lens is super sharp in the center. Generally, ultra-wide angles suffer a bit of corner softness, yet the 8 to 16mm corners are quite sharp. If you're going to use this for portraits, bokeh is adequate, but unless you really want to get right up to a person's face to do a portrait, I highly recommend looking at other Fuji lenses for bokeh and portraiture use. Overall, the Fujifilm 8 to 16mm is one of the best Fujifilm lenses we've ever used, and optically a fantastic ultra wide angle lens that surely puts up to competition with the rest on the market. To sum up, the Fujifilm 8 to 16mm sounds like the must-have ultra-wide lens for landscapers. There's just one thing about it, and it's that it costs approximately $3,100, which means that the lens is definitely not for everyone. For enthusiasts and professionals looking for the best wide-angle lens that Fujifilm offers, there is definitely no looking further than the 8 to 16mm. It's got barely any distortion, great low light performance and depth of field control, and overall the images are super sharp optically and absolutely fantastic. If you have any questions on the Fujifilm 8 to 16mm, pop them in the comments below. Or if you want to purchase the lens, we have links to it in our description and our pinned comment. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog for full written reviews and what's going on in store. And lastly, if you enjoyed our video, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future updates as we upload videos weekly.